Good morning, ladies, and welcome to a really exciting adventure. My name is Jamie, and I have Jeandre who's sitting on the back with me, and he's going to be pointing the camera in different directions and showing you all of the magical things that we have out here. Now, 8 years ago, I was sitting exactly where you are. I was in Matric at Rodin, and I was sitting in the uniform, everything like that. I know that auditorium like the back of my hand, and it's so wonderful that you can join us. This is live, so what you're seeing on your screen right now is happening in real life, 600 kilometers away from where you are now. Now, how many of you have been on safari before? How many of you have been to the Kruger? That's where we are now. We're in the Sabi Sands, so we're connected to a huge area of wildlife where the animals have been roaming free for years and years, it's been going longer than our grandparents have been alive. And what an incredible experience. We have so much to show you and so much to teach you, but I also want to hear from you. So guys, please send through your questions, get your teachers to email them through. Now, I'm not sure how this magic technology works, but I think I have the best job in the world. I get to take a game drive with a man sitting on the back operating a camera. It boosts the signal all the way up into the sky, and then bounces back through satellites right across to where you're sitting now. I want you to just imagine for 1 minute. Just close your eyes. Imagine you can feel the breeze blowing on your face. It's very windy. It's cold today. Imagine you can smell that earth. It's damp, it's fresh, we've had a lot of rain. Finally, the animals have been so thirsty, and we've got things to find. Now, we can see lions out here, we could see elephants, we could see leopards. We just don't know what we're going to see. Now, last night, I know there was a leopard somewhere on here. And Mia, you might recognize this. Mia, if you're watching, we're on quarantine clearings, and we're going to do a big loop around and see what we can find. Okay, right, let's go. Are you imagining that you're on the back of the vehicle with me? So everybody has to stay seated. You've got to keep your arms and your legs inside. You've got to watch your head for thorn trees, but most importantly, I need your help. I need you to watch what's happening around me and see what you can spot. See if you can spot something before I do. It's very important when you go out on game drive. You'll see I'm wearing a hat. That might seem silly because it's cloudy, but you never know out here. The weather changes, and it's very important that you always have a hat and you always have sunscreen with you. Make sure you look after your skin. When the sun comes out, it gets very hot. Watch for branches. There's lots around. See how bright and green it looks after the rains. Now, I want to know from all of you, what's your favorite animal? What do you want to see the most while we're out on these game drives? And the wonderful thing is that it's wild, so we can't control exactly what it is we're going to see. But I can just tell you that there is always an amazing thing waiting around every single corner. And there's something so special about that. It's not just the big animals, it's the little animals, the little insects that are... Oh, there we go. I found one for you. I'll try and shift back so that Jeandre can show you what I'm looking at. Put Jeandre at a bit of a tilt. There we go. Now, some of you must have seen these before. Look at the way its little legs go. They move like waves. What do you think that might be? You might know it as a shongololo. That's what I was always taught. And they were one of my favorite things to go and pick up when I was a kid. You know how they curl up tight into a ball? Now, I'm not going to do that to him because I don't want to scare him. He's only just popped out because it's been raining. And I can imagine that it would be very, very scary to have a hand suddenly reach down and pluck him off the ground. You can see his little feelers moving. Now, those little bits that are sticking out in the front of his head, using them to tell him where to go. All those hundreds of little legs moving in waves. And they're very safe creatures. They can't bite. They don't sting. They're completely harmless. Shongololo. Now, how many of you find bugs gross? Because you mustn't find bugs gross. Bugs are cool. There's so many different ones out here, and they all play a really important part in the world out here. If we didn't have bugs, none of the animals out here, none of the trees out here would survive. Even the trees need certain types of bugs so that they can make more baby trees. Okay, should we leave our little millipede to go about his business and see what else we can find? Oh, so exciting. When I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was when I went on holiday with my grandfather, we'd get up really, really early. It was the only time I was allowed a bit of coffee. And it was coffee with lots and lots of condensed milk. And we'd go out when it was still dark, and we'd go drive around the Kruger Park. And I still remember that excitement of just never knowing what exactly it was we were going to see. I remember it being incredibly intense. Now, my favorite thing about being out here is that no matter how much I learn and how many books I read, and I come out with a whole library whenever I go out on a drive. I take my bird book, I take my reptiles book and my frog book, books on trees, books on grasses, all of that comes with me. And no matter how much I learn and no matter how much I read about, I'm never ever going to know everything that's out here. And for me, that is one of the most incredible things. Heard so many different answers as to what it is you guys want to see. I know, Emma, you wanted to see a wild dog. I want to see wild dogs all the time. They're one of my favorite things out here. Olivia, you wanted to see a leopard. Well, Olivia, there's a good chance we might. I know she was around before, but I've just spotted. Olivia, I promise you I'm also looking for leopards. You've got to look hard though, because they're difficult to see. Now, isn't this sweet? Now, for those of you who don't know birds, these are called Wahlberg's eagles. And these two are really, really special because they're pale. Most Wahlbergs are brown in color. These have got white chests. This is a male and a female. The female's on the right. She's bigger, so she can boss her husband around. One of the best things about these birds is they mate for life, and they fly thousands of kilometers every year, but they always stay together. And if we look slightly to the right, you'll see what these two have come back for. They do it every year. Imagine flying 1,000 kilometers and coming back to the exact same place. You see that messy bundle of sticks there? Somewhere in there is a baby Wahlberg's. Probably still in its egg. I haven't seen any movement yet. There's going to be a little baby chicken there, maybe even two. And what a lucky little bird it is. It's got two fabulous parents to look after it and keep it well fed. You can see them ruffling. Their feathers are being ruffled. They're cold. They're going to tuck themselves against each other and try and stay warm. They don't want to be out flying and hunting now. It's too windy for them. They're going to settle on the tree and wait for the wind to die down. Beautiful birds. As we drive along and see what we can find. Emma, I just wanted to tell you that we have had in the last probably about the last week, we have had some of the most amazing wild dogs I have ever seen. We've got two packs that move around here. One is called the Investic Pack, and it's got 3 adults and 11 puppies, and they are the cutest things in the world. They've got these huge ears that look too big for their bodies. And then we've got another pack known as the Sands Pack, and that's got 21 dogs in it. And those two have been moving backwards and forwards on Juma, which is where we are now. And they've been chased. We've seen them being chased by elephant. We've seen them chasing hyenas. It's been incredible. I think they are probably my second favorite. If I had to choose, my second favorite predator out here. My top favorite predator is spotted hyenas. I love hyenas. And there you go. So Sienna, you wanted to see a hyena. I always want to see hyena. Did you know, Sienna, that spotted hyenas are probably the smartest animals out here? Now the light's a bit cloudy, so it's going to be difficult for Jean-Dre to show us, but I've just spotted some footprints. I want to see. We're going to track this animal. We're going to see if we can find it. Now it's slipped in the mud. You can even see where it's slid around. The car's going to wobble a bit as I take my foot off the brake, but look at that track. And I'm going to jump out for a second. I'm just going to show you how many toes it has, and then I want to hear from you. I want to hear guesses. Let's see if you guys can tell me what you think this is. Now it's perfectly safe for me to jump out. I've double checked the area. I've made sure there's no animals, and I'm very close to the car. So I'm going to just show you quickly what I'm looking at. Now if you look down here, something big has walked along this road, and I want to see if you guys can guess what it is. It's got 4 toes. There's 4 toes here as well. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're pointing that way. Imagine your feet, imagine your toes. It's showing us which direction. Now it's a big animal. Imagine I was large. Its feet are wide apart, and it's walking this way. And I think we should go and see if we can find it and figure out exactly what it might be. But I want to see if you guys can guess what it might be. Something that comes out at night. So this animal was walking down the road sometime last night. And I think we should see if we can figure it out. 4 toes, big feet, and big feet that are wide apart. Now one of my first things that I learned when I was training to do this job was to read the signs. Now the bush tells you a story. Even if you don't see the animal, the bush is going to show you what happened. It's going to tell you the story. You just have to, it's like learning to read. You have to learn to read the signs and the messages that it's trying to tell you. This animal's still walking slowly up the road. And you can imagine it like being a detective. Marungawa, you were wondering why the shungololo has so many legs. Remember that little bug that we saw that was, its legs were moving in waves? I have to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I don't know why it has to have so many legs. Maybe because it allows it to move in a way, because of the way that it climbs up things. Having so many little legs means it can grip and move over twigs and logs and move around. Now it doesn't eat meat, it eats vegetables, so it will only eat plants out here. Maybe having that many legs to grip onto branches means that it can get up and grab the best, juiciest leaves. Our animal is still coming along this road. I think he's here somewhere. Oh, I think we've spotted it. I think I can see the animal. Have you guessed what it is yet? I'm going to duck my head down so Jean-Dre can show you. Can you see that eye sticking up there? I think we've tracked our first animal. Now I may or may not have cheated a little bit because I know this hippo. His name is Peter, and his name is Peter because he lives in a pan. So that little area of water, that's known as a pan in the bush. And I'm going to tell you Peter's story in a moment. Let's see if we can sneak up a little bit closer without scaring him. I don't want to make him frightened. I don't want to make him have to get up. remember that this is their home. We're visitors in their house. So it's always really important that everything you do out here, you do with respect. You wouldn't go into somebody else's home and invade their personal space. You've got to be very respectful when you approach animals. It's also important to remember that they are big and they can be dangerous. But he's not. Peter is quite peaceful and at rest at the moment. I'm also always on the lookout. Isabella, you wanted to see a crocodile. And of course, I'm sure you've seen lots of documentaries where you see hippos and crocodiles sharing the same water. I don't see one in here today, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. He could be hiding. And crocodiles are amazing. They seem to come out of nowhere. They can walk long, long distances. You wouldn't think it because they swim so much. Oh, look how sleepy Peter is. I'll tell you the story behind Peter. We've only just had lots of rain that has come through in the last 2 days. But before that, it was 40 degrees every single day and there was not a drop of rain. So the dams are getting smaller and smaller, the rivers are getting smaller and smaller, and it puts hippos like Peter under pressure because they don't have as much space. So for an old boy like this, he probably got into a fight with one of the other younger males, and he decided that he didn't want to stick around and get bullied anymore, and so he found himself his own personal space. Now here's something amazing about Peter that I'm not sure if you all knew. Hippos are one of the only animals that can't swim. And I promise you I'm not lying to you. Peter cannot swim. He's lying on the bottom of on the mud at the bottom of the dam. And what hippos do is they can actually control how much they float or sink. So if they want to in a deep dam, they can sink down to the bottom and then bob back up. They can push up with their legs, or they can walk along the bottom of the dam. And that's how they move in this area. Well done, Lungi and Hannah. Fantastic. Apparently you guessed that it was a hippo. So it was Lungi and Hannah as well as Savannah. Really well done, guys. I'm very impressed. I thought I was going to catch you out with that one, but obviously not, because you figured out it was a hippo and we followed his tracks, just like I said, following clues, like animals leaving evidence for you to follow so you can figure out where they've gone or what they were. I'm very impressed that you managed to figure it out and figure out the fact that it was Peter. Now I'm not sure about you, but I think we should continue our search. I really have a strong feeling that we might be finding a leopard. Other guides did see her this morning. Reverse backwards, do another loop around Peter and head off. And while I do that, Malika, it's like you read my mind. It was something I meant to mention and I forgot. Malika, you wanted to know what you should bring if you go into the wild. Oh, can you hear the wind? You can see how my hair's going to be impossible to brush out. Now, Malika, you wanted to know what you bring. I'll show you a couple of important things. First of all, oh, that's heavy. There's a backpack, some kind of bag that you can carry stuff in. And then, as I mentioned earlier, a hat is very important. A radio is very important because you don't always have cell phone signal out here. So it's important that you're able to communicate. Then I've got my library collection. I've got my books. I'm going to stop for one moment so I can get into my bag and show you what else I've got. Very important, probably the thing that I use the most out here, binoculars, to help me look at all of the birds and everything that we see outside. Now mine are getting a bit old. This is stuck. A little bit of sand, a little bit of damage, but still my most trusted tool. Then I have a Leatherman which is a multi-knife. Jig is making a very funny noise. Try and figure out where that is coming from. Oh, I know what I did. I turned the windscreen wipers on. Obviously, Jigger doesn't have a windscreen anymore, but once upon a time she did, and I always refer to the car by its name. And it's got the device that still works. Now, Nina, we're just leaving the hippopotamus, Peter, in the pan, and you wanted to know how much does a hippopotamus weigh? And the answer is somewhere in the region of 2,000 kilograms, so 2 tons. Now, Peter's a huge hippo. He might be even bigger than that. And the best and most amazing thing about that is the fact that although they look big and fat and slow, a hippo could easily run faster than any of us. Definitely could run faster than me. I was never very fast at school, but they still can run. They can still run incredibly quickly. Apparently, Emma's dad was chased by a hippo when he was a little boy, and that could be incredibly scary. Now, hippo, although they only eat grass and they go and feed on the vegetation, they can be quite scary animals, and sometimes they get a bit cross. If they're out of the water, because they feel safe in the water, when they're on land, they get uncomfortable, they feel a bit scared, and that makes them a little bit cross. And sometimes they do chase people, so it's important to remember that they are wild animals and they can be dangerous, and they're always going to be faster than you think they are. I've said that hippos can't swim, and Kristen, you were wondering how long then can they hold their breath? How long can they be underwater for? Answer to that is somewhere in the region of about 5 minutes. So between 5 and 6 minutes, even the babies. So even the babies can hold their breath for a really long time. I have once, I timed it, and I did see a hippo hold its breath for 11 minutes. Which just goes to show that you can't always believe exactly what it was that the books told you. Now I'm just gonna hop on the radio for a second. This is a game drive channel, so there's other people driving their guests around, and this allows me to talk to them and communicate with them. I just want to go on now and just double check with them what's happening. Stations with Gorilla coming. Apparently they don't want to talk to me today. That's fine. We'll find the leopard. She was here somewhere now. Let's see if we can spot her. Where do you think a leopard's going to be hiding? I think a good place to start is somewhere in the trees. Now, Olivia, the reason I'm looking for a leopard, and I know you really wanted to see one, is first of all because I love them and I think they're amazing creatures, but also because I know that there was a leopard around here last night. I know she was moving through. Let's check the trees as we go past. She might be lying somewhere here. Keep your eyes peeled. Now remember, leopards are really well camouflaged. You've got to look carefully. They've got those incredible spots that hide them away. I'm going to stop for a moment because I've spotted, it's not a leopard, but I've spotted some very pretty birds, and they're making a lot of noise. Switch off so you can hear it. Oh! Can you see that? That's amazing! Lilac-breasted rollers are chasing a hoopoe for no apparent reason. That's so cool. Can hear them shouting angrily. Shift back to see if you can see it again. John did an amazing job of staying with that lilac-breasted roller. Now I'm sure you guys have seen them before. They're beautiful birds with that bright colouring. Incredible looking. He's ducked away now. Now the reason that the lilac-breasted rollers, it's a type of bird, were chasing the hoopoe, and I'm sure many of you have seen hoopoes in your garden, is because right now they're breeding and they all have secret nest sites around the reserve, and one of their favorite nest sites is to be in a hole in a marula tree. And I think that lilac-breasted roller was just playing it safe and chasing it away. Now let's head across. She was somewhere on this clearing. I'm sure she's here. Let's double check. Now remember, as I said, they were very well camouflaged, but there's one part of a leopard that sometimes gives them away, and that is that white tip of the tail. Maybe that's what we should be looking for. It could be hanging out of a tree, could be hiding under a bush. And while we're checking the trees, Georgina and Kada, you were wondering why leopards hide in trees. Now I have a secret to tell you. Leopards are actually quite scared of the other animals that are out here. So not necessarily prey, but they do get very nervous. So things like hyena, wild dog, lions, they will all chase a leopard if they can. I think we should go this way. For leopards, because they're so good at climbing, there's no other animal that can catch them up in a tree. Oh, I've spotted our first clue. Now guys, this is a sad fact of nature, but leopards have to eat, and I think we found our clue here. Now this is one thing that leopards are famous for doing. They put their breakfast and their dinner in tree branches. Now there's an impala up a tree, which means our leopard is somewhere here. Let's see if we can figure out where she is. I know it's very sad to see, very difficult to see, but just bear in mind that there are lots of impala and leopards are built to eat them. But by hiding her food up in the tree, it means that the hyenas can't steal it. Anything will try and steal it from her. Lions will try and steal it, and she's put so much time and energy into catching it, and she's got a huge responsibility. She's got to feed herself all by herself. Where could she be? She must be here somewhere. She's not in the tree with the impala. Let's see if we can spot her. I think I see something. Can you guys see the leopard? She's hiding from us. Have you spotted her yet? Can you see her now? There, she's moving her head and she's lying down. Now, all you can see is just the tip of the spots behind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shift around. We can get a chance to see her properly. How exciting is this? We found our leopard, we followed the clues. We've seen she's hidden her breakfast away in a tree. Ellen, you were wondering if leopards are the best climbers since we were looking for her in a tree. Sorry, Erin, you were wondering if they're the best climbers. Yes, absolutely. They are perfectly graceful and balanced. I don't know how they do it because I fall out of most of the trees I try and climb. But leopards just have a way of doing it. They've got those perfect claws and muscles to hold them up and climb into the trees. Now I've seen lions climb trees and they can climb, but they look very silly doing it and they fall out all the time. It's very funny to watch. And they generally don't do it, which is great for the leopards because it means the leopard, if a lion comes, can race up a tree and hide away from it. Let's see if we can find a nice place to view her. And Mia, I think you're right. I think you're on to me. It was Karula that killed the impala, and she's here. I'm just trying to find us a nice place to see her without disturbing any of the other people who are out on drive as well. Let's see if I can. Now, when we got a nice view of her, I'm going to tell you a bit of a story about the leopard you're going to see. Now we're going to have to content ourselves with this view. She's very hidden away. Sorry, Jandre, I put you on quite a slope. Here you go. A very sleepy, very well hidden Karula. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure Mia does, Karula is the queen of Djuma, which is where we are now. She's 11 years old, and this entire area is her territory. And next door to her are all her daughters that she's had over the years. She's been an incredible mother. She's an incredible hunter. And a very brave and courageous leopard. Now, for a leopard that lives all by herself, looking after herself all alone, when she has cubs, and the wonderful news is that she may actually be pregnant right now. She was mating with a male just a few weeks ago. Now, it's too soon for us to tell, but she could be pregnant, and we might be expecting cubs in about 3 months' time. Now, she was out on this clearing hunting. She's exhausted from all of the hunting that she's done. And I know that, Julia, you were wondering how fast can a leopard run? The answer, Julia, is very, very fast. Now imagine the distance from one side of the auditorium to the other. Now count 2 seconds in your head. 1, 2. That leopard could have run from one side to the other in that space of time. So essentially they can cover 22 meters in 1 second. Isn't that crazy? Now they can't do it forever though. Now, Jordan, it's a difficult one. You wanted to know how you tell if it's a male or a female. What tells me it's a female at this point is the size of her and the fact that I know she was in this area last night. So she, as a full-grown female, is about half the size of an adult male leopard. So that's really the only difference, is that their size. Males are much bigger. They've got big, thick, strong necks to protect them, and they've got what's known as a dewlap, so a flap of skin in the front that protects them. And the other way that you can tell is the obvious way. They have differences, and the males have testicles underneath their tails that you'll be able to see, but only, of course, if you can see under their tail. I'm not going to go and ask her to lift up her tail, though. What I really want to do, now that the other vehicle has moved around, is I'm going to try and shift so you can see her face, and you can have a look at the face of the queen of Djuma. She's a very sleepy leopard though. How amazing is this? We got our leopard. Now, she was very tricky to spot, and we had to look hard for her. I know that, Savannah, you were wondering why leopards are as camouflaged as they are. Why are they so difficult to spot? And the answer is because there's so many animals out here that are a threat to them. They can hide away from things like lions, but most importantly, they hunt all by themselves. They're not like lions or wild dogs or spotted hyenas that can chase prey and then get to it and have one group member go around. They can ambush. It doesn't quite work like that with leopards. They've got to use stealth. What they do is they go and they sneak and they hide away in the grass and they wait for the prey to move past, and then they pounce. Again, as I said, 22 meters in 1 second. There we go. We can get a little bit closer now without disturbing anybody else. Good morning, Karula. Hello, big girl. you sleepy? Very clever. Did you catch that impala all by yourself? Now, I have a secret. I always talk to animals. And hey. All right, girl. Okay, girl. Now, you don't need to be worried. She was perfectly relaxed. She just got a bit of a fright. Okay, girl. All right, girl. I'll back up. What I'm going to do is give her a bit of space. She's sending me a message, but how incredible was that? Teeth out, you can just see why they're such fearsome predators. Here we go. Stop here and let her relax a bit. Okay, big girl. Did you get cross there? Now, what could have happened as well is that she was fast asleep and she woke up and saw us there and decided actually she didn't like that. But there you go, look how beautiful she is. And a wild creature out here. And as I said, it's very important to approach them with complete respect. So when she gave me that message to say, hey, I'm cross with you, move away, we moved away immediately. And animals tell you what they're thinking, they tell you how they're feeling. Oh, the one magical, oh, look how round that belly is. She's had a big breakfast. The one magical thing about Karula, who's now settled down completely, but she's hidden her face from us, is she's got the word wow on her forehead. Yes, please look here, girl. See if you can spot it. It's right between her eyes. And it says wow. It took me a long time to be able to see it, but as she's looking at us, there you go. See, she's perfectly calm and relaxed now. She's lying down. And she's going to probably go back to sleep with such a full belly. She's been feeding on that impala probably all night. And Zizi, you were wondering, how do leopards get their prey up into trees? The answer is they are incredibly strong. Imagine you were carrying something that weighs the same amount as you do in your mouth, and then you have to climb trees using your claws. They're much, much stronger than we are. Now, she probably weighs somewhere in the region of about 45 kilograms. She's quite a small leopard. All right, girl. I'm moving slowly. And she's still strong enough to lift an impala that weighs about 50 kilograms up into the tree. They're incredibly strong creatures. So she'll grab it in her mouth and then pull herself up. She's left her breakfast up in the tree, and that is because if we look at that incredibly round belly, she's full. So Deanne, you were wondering why she's left it. The truth is she's stuffed. She just cannot eat anymore. She cannot face eating anymore. She's so full of food, she's just gonna wait a little bit. And that's why she's pulled her food. You can almost think of it like leaving your leftovers in a Tupperware in the fridge for the next day. That's what she's done. That's why she's put that kill in the tree, so that she can keep her food safe from a hyena. Now, we've got lots of hyena that live all around us, and she knows that because she's clever. Karula's had 11 years to learn. She's got to put her food up in her tree, up in the trees. Now, I've met her daughter, Shadow. And Shadow, for some reason, Shadow was one of Karula's first cubs, and she's now 9 years old. And for some reason, Shadow is just not as good as her mom at putting food up in trees. She always has her kills stolen by hyena because she doesn't take them up into a tree. And it just goes to show you that each and every one of these animals is completely unique. What I'm going to do now that she's relaxed is I'm going to move a little bit further away from her. She's actually moved closer to us, but I'm going to give her a bit more space now that she's settled down. Apparently, let's shift a bit further back. There we go. That's much better. Just giving her a chance to relax and calm down a little bit. So we'll have a nice view of her as well. Now I know that Madame Gonzalez, you were wondering where we are in the park. We're actually technically in the Sabi Sands, so the closest gate to us is around Orpen Gate. That's the entrance to the Kruger Park. And we're just on the boundary, so the Sabi Sands sits on the western boundary of the Kruger National Park, but it has no fences in between it. We're just south of Orpen on the western edge of Kruger Park, and maybe you can get your teachers to show you where you are on the map. Well, it's been an absolutely wonderful morning to have shared with you all, and I want to say a big thank you. Remember guys, this is your home, this whole place, and learn as much about it as you can, because one day it will be up to you to come and enjoy and protect these beautiful animals. Have a wonderful day, and I will possibly see you next time. Bye bye guys. Relax so much more, and they get more comfortable with your presence. As long as you don't outstay your welcome. We are going to do a little bit of guesswork here. Let me see if I can direct us. And I'm going to ask you something. I want to see if you can figure this out. I'm just going to make sure Jean-Andre can get there. Can you see them there, Jean-Andre? We have a track here. The bush has left us clues. Somebody was walking down the road, and I'm going to hop out for a moment to show you. And I want to know if you can guess who that might have been. So, jump over the mud, it's a bit slippery. You can even see where he slipped. He's walking up the road. He's got 4 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can actually see it quite clearly in this one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So imagine the toes on your foot pointing this way. He's going this way. What could it be? It's something big. His legs are wide apart. His foot is huge, bigger than mine. What animal could we be looking for? Well, we'll have to follow the tracks and see if we can figure it out. But let me know what you think it is. And let's go tracking. Now, the one amazing thing about the bush is that the bush tells you stories. It leaves you clues, even if you aren't there to see what happened. Now, I know that those tracks are from last night because it rained last night and he's in the mud. So he's been walking in the mud. So there's bits of evidence and they're telling a story. Now, when I first started training to do this job, one of the first things they teach you is to read. It's like learning to read. It's to read the signs of the bush, to read the clues, like being a detective almost. And you learn so much about the way that animals behave just by looking at their tracks. You can see where they slip, you can see where they walk, how they walk, where they choose to walk. And that all helps when you get to the point where you're trying to predict where that animal is going to go. Our animal is still walking along this road. His tracks are still in the road. Let's see if we can figure out where he is. Keep your eyes open, guys. I need you to look for animals and help me spot, because I've got to do all the concentrating on the driving. I need extra pairs of eyes. The more eyes we have looking, the better for us. Amy, you were wondering where we are. We are essentially in the Greater Kruger National Park area. How many of you have been to the Kruger? I'm sure plenty of you. Amy, we're in the Sabi Sands, so we're on the western boundary of Kruger, in the bit that's owned by private, so individual peoples rather than the government. And we're right, but it's all open. It's a giant wild area. Animals have been roaming this land for years and generations, longer than our grandfathers or our grandparents have been alive. I think I found our mystery animal. I think I've spotted it. The animal we've been tracking. Duck my head so Andre can show you. It was not a lion that we were tracking. His feet were just that little bit bigger, much bigger. I'm going to introduce you to a hippo that we have named Peter. Let's see if we can sneak a little bit closer and find out what he's up to. I'm going to give him plenty of space. Shift around this way. Now, something always very important to remember is that this is their animal's home. This is where they live. It's really important to treat them with complete and utmost respect for their personal space. And here we have the gentleman responsible for leaving big muddy footprints in the dirt. Now, the story behind this hippo, he is called Peter because he lives in a pan. And that's the name given to these little water holes that you get around here. Now, Peter is an old hippo. Now, the person who came very close to guessing what that animal was Gabby. Gabby, you thought it was a rhino track, and I'm going to say very well done, because rhino tracks and hippo tracks do look very similar. The trick to remember is that hippos have 4 toes, and rhinos have 3. But sometimes in mud it's very difficult to see. Very well done to Vix and to Rosie for guessing it. It is Peter's tracks, Peter the hippo. Now, the story behind him, as I mentioned before, is quite a sad one, and I'm very glad that the rain has finally arrived. Now, it's only in the last 2 days that the rain's been coming. But imagine the last 2 weeks, it's been 40 degrees every single day. It's been baking hot, and I know it's been hot in Joburg as well. So you've experienced it on your side, but completely dry, and all of our water holes were starting to dry up. The rivers were disappearing, and because of that, the hippos get more and more under pressure. There's not as much space for them. Now, I think that Peter was living with a pod of hippo further to the north of us in a big dam, but I think as it got smaller, he was pushed out and bullied by a younger male, and he decided he was tired of it and came across to live in our pan outside the lodge. And I have some amazing information about hippopotamuses. Did you know that they cannot swim? They are one of the only animals in the world that cannot swim, and yet they live in water. Now, Peter is lying on the muddy bottom, so he's resting his body weight at the bottom of the water. And when they want to move through deep dams or deep rivers, they just sink to the bottom and then run along in the direction that they want to go. But they have to run along the bottom. They can't propel themselves. And that's partly because they are absolutely enormous with very short legs. I know that this is a male, but it's a very tricky call to make. And I know that Tamara, you were wondering how you tell the difference between a boy and a girl, or a male or a female hippo. The answer is it's actually quite tricky, and you can't always do it. And the previous job I used to work at, I had to go and try and record how many hippos there were in the river and how many males, females. Incredibly difficult. The one thing you can look at is the size and the behavior. So you'll always be able to tell the dominant bull. He gets the most protective, he's the biggest, he's got quite a solid square head. But other than that, that's pretty much the only way that you can tell the difference, unless you see a mother and a baby, because then you know that it's a mom and you know it's a female, because the fathers don't play any role in looking after their youngsters. Now, there's no easy way because, interestingly, and another similarity with rhinos, hippos' testicles are up inside them. They're not external, they're internal. So you can't really tell in that way. So I know Peter's a male just because of his size. He's much, much bigger. But if he were younger, if he was smaller, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference if you were a male or a female. One of the tricky ones out here. Now, poor old Peter is very sleepy. I think he's going to doze away. And I think we should probably leave him in peace to continue his morning nap, because remember, hippos are nocturnal. They sleep during the day. And I think he's had quite enough interruptions of his morning nap. I've said that I can't tell boys and girls, and Gemma, you wanted to know how you can tell the different hippos apart. And the answer to that is generally you can't, unless they have very obvious markings. Now in this case, Peter has been living in this pan for a couple of days now, so I know that it's the same one, because remember how I said he was bullied by other males? Well, he's got a couple of scratches across the top of his back, scars that are just healing up from where the other hippos actually hurt him. Oh, my hat is blowing off. Put it down there for now. So I can't tell the difference between individual hippos unless they have clear markings or clear scars. Now, the reason that Peter is quite happy in the water is because hippos feel safest in water. And Eva, you were wondering, would he charge the truck or why won't he? And the answer is he's getting pretty used to people coming and have a look at him. He's very comfortable with, oh my goodness. Hello. Oh, I love rain. Thank you, Jean-Andre. Gosh, I nearly didn't see this little guy. How cool is that? It's a little Speaks hinged tortoise. You can just see his head poking out. It's all right, little one. Oh, you're lucky I spotted you. You look almost like a rock. There he goes. Oh, I love tortoises. They are such cool little reptiles. Slowly moving. It always looks like they have to work so hard to walk. Oh, he's come out of a state that's almost like hibernating during winter. They become dormant. and they sleep for most of the winter. When the rains come and they know that they're going to have access to water, then they pop out. Might be going for a snack. Nope. Now, I would love to spend as much time as possible with this little guy, but we are going to run out of time. And I have a leopard that I need to look for. She's somewhere on the clearing, so we'll leave him for now. Be careful, little one. Our tortoises, as I said, are amazing creatures. I know that Dimple and Amy, you're really, really excited. You want to see leopards, so do I. I'll tell you something. I know that somewhere on this clearing there is a leopard, and we're going to go and find her. The reason I know that is, first of all, we saw her last night, but we also know that some of the guides have seen her this morning. Now I'm going to stop very briefly for a beautiful antelope, but I'm not going to stay too long. Hello, boy. A beautiful animal, something that you'll see in camps regularly. Hey, buddy, you're hiding now. You're being shy. Nope, there we go. Now, I'm sure that lots of you know what this is. It's a male nyala. Ooh, duck my head down. Isn't he beautiful with that thick coat? Now, the best thing about nyalas is when they fight, or before they fight, they dance. Males dance with each other. They puff up all their fur, and they do a really, really slow, I can only describe it as a waltz, really. Look how pretty he is. And they do that, they do the dance to intimidate each other. Right, we better go. We've got things to find. And unfortunately, as with every safari, limited time. Set that male guy ahead of us. Oh, there's another one. Y'all are everywhere. Now, as we scoot along the clearing, Tiara, you were wondering, why was that a tortoise lying in the middle of the road? Well, as I said, they've just started to come out because of the rain. They've come to get some water. They've come to have a drink. And tortoises are capable of storing water, but not for indefinite periods of time. So they have a big, almost like a bladder in their bodies, and that's where they store their food. Store their water. But it doesn't last forever, and that little tortoise is coming out to find some grass to eat and find some water to drink. And just happened to be walking across the road as we were. Could also be, you never know, but it could also be a female looking for somewhere to lay eggs, or maybe looking for another tortoise to mate with. Now, the amazing thing about tortoises is that the temperature of their eggs will determine which way, whether it's a male or a female that hatches. So they dig a hole and they bury their eggs inside the hole and they cover it up again. And depending on if it's hot, if they're close to the top, then they get plenty of sun. If they're down at the bottom, then it's a bit cooler. That will determine whether they're a boy or a girl. Now, Isabel, you saw how amazing those markings are, and you were wondering why they have them. The answer is because it helps to camouflage them. Believe it or not, especially in big patches, big thick patches of grass, you would never ever know that they're there. Now, we need to find the sneaky leopard, so keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to drive nice and slowly around here, and let's see if we can figure out exactly where she is. Check in the trees. Now, leopards are beautifully camouflaged with those spots of theirs, but they have one thing that gives them away, and that's that flash of white around their tail. And that's generally a very good way to spot a leopard. Let's see if we can get that flash of white somewhere. It was stormy last night, it was very windy. Perfect weather for a leopard to hunt. I'm just coming round the corner, and I think I'm going to end up answering Yua's question. We found some evidence to tell us about this leopard, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. Let's approach nice and slowly. You wanted to know if they're carcasses. Well, I have something that is very sad to see, but it is very much a part of nature. I'm going to move in so that Jean-Ray can show you. Very sad to see, but we have the leopard's breakfast. An impala that she's caught sometime last night that she's put into the tree to keep it out of reach of other predators. Now, the secret is, where could this leopard be hiding? She's not in the tree with her breakfast. Where could she be? Keep your eyes peeled. Let's see if you can spot her. She's not going to go far. She's not hungry at the moment, but she's not going to go far away from it. Where is she? Aha! I've seen her. I'm not sure if you have yet. Let me get around to show you. Can you believe it? I'm facing her. I'm going to approach nice and slowly. She's on a nice, clear area to see her. I'm not going to move too close. Have you guys spotted her yet? Let's see if Chandra can show you where she is. She's being kind to us. She's right out in the open. And here is the beautiful Karula. And Karula means peace. Karula is she is known as the Queen of Djuma around here. A beautiful, beautiful leopard. She's 11 years old and she rules over this whole part of Djuma as her territory. Keeps all the other female leopards out, but she's surrounded by the daughters that she's had over the years. How exciting is this? We get to see a leopard. For those of you who really wanted to, I'm glad that we spotted her. She's looking very full and very, very relaxed. Our Karula is an incredibly bright and courageous leopard. She's learned clearly that if she leaves her food on the ground, something is going to come along and steal it. Now, the secret of leopards is that they're actually pretty much scared of all of the other big carnivores. They're chased away by lions, hyenas, even wild dog will chase a leopard away. So she's had to learn that in order to look after herself and keep her food safe, she's got to pull it into a tree. What's incredible is the fact that she probably weighs the same as that impala does, and yet she has the strength to put it in her mouth and climb up the trees with her claws and pull it up there. Now, of course, it's always sad to see, but there are lots and lots of impala around here, and not that many leopards. At the most. I know that Megan Rains, you were wondering why she hasn't eaten her breakfast yet, and I think the answer is that at the moment she just cannot fit any more. She cannot fit one more mouthful in her. Her belly is very, very distended. It's not as clear when she's lying down, but she definitely looks a little bit like she's swallowed a balloon or a beach ball or something. And it's that amazing ability of all the big cats, cheetah, leopard, lion, when they get a chance to eat, they eat as much as they can, as quickly as they can, in a way that actually pushes their organs up and pushes up against their lungs, into their diaphragm, which is why quite often you'll see them panting. So with all of that heat, because digesting all that meat makes them very, very hot. It's like you guys, if you have a really big meal, maybe on Christmas, or have a big family lunch, and you feel so full and exhausted afterwards, that's what she's feeling like. She probably will go up and have a snack on it in a moment, maybe sometime in the next few hours. And she might even head down then to the dam and have a quick drink. She is looking incredibly relaxed. Now, that hunt would also have taken an enormous amount of energy out of her. Impalas are not slow, and they are very strong, and they obviously fight back. And she would probably have crept up stealthily using her camouflage. Now, Jessica, you were wondering about why leopards have rosettes just like her and cheetahs have spots, because that's the way around. You can see a little bit of the rosettes on her side, and the answer is it's just different evolutions of the same technique. They both use the spots as a way of camouflage. You might find that because leopards do a lot of their hunting at night, it works a bit better with the rosettes. The camouflage works a bit better with the rosettes, as opposed to cheetah, which hunt during the day. Now, I'll tell you something fascinating. Cheetah hunt during the day, and you know those dark stripes that run down the inside of their eyes that look like tears where the path runs down? That is so that if they are hunting during the day and they're running into the sun, it doesn't make them feel like they have to squint. It takes away some of the glare, it absorbs some of the glare. But for a leopard like Karula, she's got the opposite. She's got white stripes under her eyes. I know, Addie, you were wondering how many cubs Karula has had. And Gabby, you were wondering how many cubs Karula has had. And the answer is I'm actually not too sure, but there have been a good couple of generations. There was 2 with Shadow and a twin. And I think it's somewhere around the region of 9 cubs. And it's incredible because she's been such a successful mother. I want you to really enjoy the beauty and the peace of an animal like this. I hope that as many of you as possible will have a chance to come out and visit and experience this. I'm glad that we could bring you this little bit of Africa first thing on a Monday morning. There's nothing like, for me, the feeling of love that I have for this place and the animals out here, and I hope that I can encourage all of you to share that with me. Have a wonderful day, ladies. I hope you have had a good game drive, and we hope to have you back again sometime. But grade 2, enjoy the rest of your school day and have a wonderful time. From myself and Jandre, bye-bye for now.